Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery. And, my special guest is no stranger to any of us because Dr. Melissa has been with us many times. And, I'm just too excited to even wait. But, we have an announcement and we're really excited about it. And that is that Dr. Melissa has, I won't say joined the team, but has joined the team and has made herself extremely accessible to everybody in the Turning Leaves community by creating her very own space and an opportunity to offer everybody the ability to work from prescriptions to holistic well-being, which fittingly enough is the name of how you can find her on the Turning Leaves platform. I'm sure she will share the link so that you can check it out. But she's added in some really awesome videos so that you can get to know her and build that know, trust, like factor. But you can also jump in there and communicate on a secure platform and schedule your appointments right there. And all of the paperwork that you need to fill out so that you can have an effective time with her is there already too. So it's so efficient, so amazing, so professional, and such a welcome asset to our community and to our processes and the way that we are focusing on creating, a much better way of living and experiencing living, that it's just such an amazing honor to have you with us. So anyway, I'm going to let Melissa speak now.
Thank you, Tricia, for having me again on Mastering the Drop. I'm so excited to be back again, and I am stoked to be a part of your community and have a special spot that people can find me easily within the Turning Leaf community. I'm so excited.
Yay! So, okay, that'll be our shameless plug for the morning, because we actually had some very specific things and I'm just going to say it right now, everybody. Augie's being a little bit annoying this morning. So if you hear him barking in the background, because Augie wants to be front and center right now. And he's not in the office. So, but anyway, Melissa, we had a really good conversation the other day, because in our communications about our clientele and the things that they're facing right now, there's some really important crossover. I think it's crossover that I'm looking for, but anyway, there's some really important things that we've been touching on, and there's things that you've been able to shed light on, that I've been able to shed light on, and so there was 3 very specific areas. And I mentioned them in the post this morning, announcing that we were going to be here. But, the recovery process presents the physical body with some very specific needs. Menopause presents the physical body with some very specific needs. And dieting really puts the body, or the physical body, in a very specific need for some very specific needs, right? Because, and so if we just stay even in just that space for a moment, right? Because yes, I am somebody that is not a diet culture buy-in person, right? I don't buy into the diet culture. I believe firmly in feeding our body and fueling our body the way that our physical body needs, and that our size, shape, and everything, the way it's supposed to be organically will happen if we're feeding and fueling our bodies appropriately. However, that doesn't take away my emotional eaters, my overeaters, my binge eaters, and even my restrictors need to have this recovery process, which then presents with a need. And I'm using the word need because I think it's very important to make sure that we have the right vitamins, minerals, supplements in our lives, which often can be determined through very simple blood work, right? And then once you know where you're deficient, or what you have too much of, or, not enough of, whatever it is, then that's when we go, okay, it's not about just grabbing, and I'm guilty of it, just grabbing whatever's on the CVS counter next to the lab where you got your results, right? Like there are a lot of products that aren't necessarily maybe regulated or approved or meet guidelines, although their labels say they do. And so, something that I've found very valuable in our relationship is the fact that, Melissa has done all of the research and the overabundance of amount of hours, which she shares with you, how deep her education and her training goes in all of her videos. But, it's about talking about that. So, so there's that diet culture, and then the very real needs, menopause. Okay. So for me, this is so far removed because I went through menopause in my 20s, but it's a real situation that we have. And most people, because we get in this very emotionally derailed state when we're going through it, like we just kind of reach and grab and add, things in, all hoping for the right, culmination or just relief of any kind. And then you throw in a recovery journey. Not that, dieting and menopause don't already have an emotional recovery process in there, but you throw in a recovery journey from, say, overindulging in alcohol or, anything else, because, even those impulsive shoppers, even the, the people pleasing codependents, when we're in this recovery process, our brain is changing, and it's become either a dopamine, serotonin, or cortisol junkie, right? Like it's been trained to rely on those things. And that's where you're getting it from, whether it's a chemical substance, shopping, people pleasing, overbooking your calendar, always being on the go, whatever it is, like you are creating like this hormonal wackadoo in here that your body has now become addicted to. And we have to recover from that. Okay, so that was a lot. But so Dr. Melissa is here to help us kind of break this down and see, maybe get some ideas, right? Of course, the right referral for you or for anybody to the right supplement or the right potential need or the right culmination comes from an actual evaluation, right? And you always say, I need to see what you're taking, how they may be reacting with each other, and what things maybe you don't need, or what things may be actually causing the symptoms that you're using other things for. I'm learning, right? I do listen. I've been listening to you this whole time, and so, but that doesn't mean we can't have a very generalized conversation about it, right? So I guess you can pick where you want to start, like that, the brain chemical junkies or the, the diet culture, the menopause, all of it. I mean, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And I'm glad you're listening and you are learning, Tricia. You picked up. And the thing is we so often, we go for the convenience, like you pick up that bottle at CVS and it's there to tempt you, just like retail shopping and different sugar things are to tempt you. They make it, but it's not necessarily the right good quality. I can tell you most things, not everything, but most things that you're going to pick up at CVS are probably not going to meet the quality standards that I think are necessary, that are closest to what are like FDA requirements. So when you take a prescription medication, there's rigorous requirements that medication goes through in order to be able to be proven safe and effective and doing what it says and not causing substantial harm. Well, we'll say substantial, because there's different things that can happen. Those supplements, they're not regulated by the FDA. There are some good manufacturing processes that are in place by some companies, not all companies. And those processes that are in place, that's one key component. but that's not everything you need to look for. There's a lot of other things that you need to look for just besides if it says GMP approved. Because and I'm not going to go through all of them because it's exhausting, it's extensive, and it takes time to go through and find out, are they following safety? How are they sourcing their products? Do they really have what's on the label? That's things that you can delve down into, and you can absolutely go through and do the research on your own, sit down and go through each different ingredient and figure out, okay, does it really have what I think it is? This green bottle, this beautiful green bottle, has pretty flowers on it and it looks good. It might have a butterfly, it might have something on it. They make it look enticing, but you need to do the research and find out, is what's inside the bottle truly what the label says? And that's one of my key core components, because I don't want you throwing your money away. And that's really it. You're throwing your money away on something that's not beneficial for you, that doesn't have what it says in there. So who knows what you're getting? There's been times where supplements have been, they call it laced with toxic stuff. So it's got stuff on top of it that doesn't belong. And sometimes those things can be detrimental. Hormones have been found in certain supplements, especially supplements for weight management or bodybuilding. They have found trace elements of supplements like testosterone, estrogen, and all kinds of other horrible things in some, not all, but in some of those supplements. So that's just one scary aspect of, you want to make sure that you're getting a good quality supplement, know what you're taking. So if you're trying for weight management support along with menopause, there's a couple of different things. You may have heard of having some extra vitamin B3. That's a good one, because that's going to help with your metabolism. Now, vitamin B3 is not for everybody, so don't just run out and buy vitamin B3 because it may interact with your other medications. It may interact with your other supplements. So that's why I am very cautious to make sure that I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you, and I want to go through and do an assessment with you and figure out what is the right fit for you. Is, for example, vitamin B3 a good choice for you? Or do you have an allergy to it? Because if you're allergic to something, we don't want to give you that. And then there's an alternative. So those are some components of, depending upon where you are in your recovery journey and what piece of the puzzle, I don't want to say pie, what piece of the puzzle we're trying to solve, then we can add in certain things, we can take away things, because yes, you may be taking 15 different things already, and you're taking something to combat a symptom of something else, whether it's a medication or a supplement, or maybe this one didn't work, so you add this one on and you're thinking, well, more is better. Well, that's not always the case. More is not always better. So we really want to streamline what you take, get you the right thing so that you're supported completely in your recovery process, along with your weight management, your menopause. There's all kinds of supplements for menopause. There's anxiety. There's all these aspects and these pieces. These are key components that Tricia and I know that you're going through. And so these are things that we want to help you through, because we want to support you through this recovery process.
I love this, because I'll tell you what my filter is creating, and all my people are going, yeah, she's going to talk about her filter again, right? But my filter is hearing, okay, so in all of my education, right, as a recovery fitness coach, a recovery nutrition coach, just, in all of the 13 credentials, right? Like, there's been all of these different areas where scientifically, we've learned about the recovery process, right? And I've worked in a facility or a program that was addiction medicine, where a lot of it was focused on healthy infusions and this and that. And this isn't to point anybody out or call anybody to the table, but everything that I learned was, if somebody's recovering from alcohol, here's a list of the supplements that will truly help them. If somebody's recovering from opiates, like here's the list of things that, would be beneficial. And so, and so on and so forth, right? Sugar and, yada, yada. Right. So these lists that, that I don't give out as recommendations, and when I have, it's been, this is what I was told in school. Ask your medical provider, right? Because I don't give medical advice. And even because I know that in my own personal life, and I have all these things, right? That just come and go or whatever, but I'm an active participant in my relationship with my physical body. And I know that, so I know that I'm always going to be willing to add, edit, delete whatever I'm ingesting so that I'm operating at optimal performance. That's me though. That's not everybody that walks through my door, and it's not everybody that I work with. So it's always, let's bring on a professional. This is why you're here. This is why I've invited you into this space. But it's also why I always am collaborating with other professionals, because we all have our scope, we all have our wheelhouse, and we all have our specialties. So, if we go to, let's say, one of these lists that I have, and it says B, it says magnesium, it says L-thionine. Yeah, that thing, right? Like it says all of these things that, we wouldn't want somebody to go, okay, so I'm recovering from alcohol abuse, right? Misuse or overindulgence, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever fits your mold. I'm going to just go out and buy all of these things, and I'm just going to take them. And now they're just taking 15 things a day. And we don't know if that's what you need, right? And same with this, okay? Because this is something that I witnessed. It's also something that I experienced in my own journeys, again, whether it be in my own recovery journey or in my own educational process, is, you have people that are recovering from substance misuse as well as an eating disorder, right? So in conjunction, whether that's overeating or undereating, whatever it is, right? Or even if it's just a food addiction, right? Or body dysmorphia, whatever it is. And you're recovering from these two things. And the first thing that is recommended is, a nutritionist cookie cutter diet plan with very specific measurements of how much you should eat, whether it feels super restrictive or overindulgent, right? Because if you're a restrictor, you don't want to eat that much. And if you're an overindulger, then, you're going to be feeling like deprived, and psychologically that's going to mess with you. But they also, so they're going to tell you what to eat, how to eat it, and when to eat it. And then they're going to make recommendations for supplements or anxiety meds, right? So there might be prescriptions from somebody coming on board. And then there's going to be that recommendation for physical exercise. Now, in my journey, I was taught basically the right way. One, I had the autonomy to say that's too much food. That doesn't sit well in my belly, right? And maybe it's because I was older and more assertive or whatever it is. But, and I was also very confident in saying, I don't want your pill, right? Like I want to learn how to move through my anxiety on a cognitive level. And I was also willing to undergo, those medical labs that thankfully illuminated for me and the other, the professionals that I had hired in that process to say, your physical body needs healing before physical exercise ought to happen. And P.S., you really shouldn't add any more pills that your liver has to process. And hey, let's you're exhibiting food sensitivities. Let's maybe do some testing to see if it's just a sensitivity or an allergy, and let's find out what's going on. Right now, how much of that, again, this was 9 years ago. I don't really remember how much of that was me just going no, and them coming up with alternatives, or how much it was me actually asserting myself as a grown woman who made the choice to engage in this program, the system, and everything that they stood for. But this is important. It's important that you don't even just blindly take things that somebody recommends to you.
That is so key, Tricia. That is so key, because one of my passions is empowering women to know that they have a voice and that they have a choice wherever you're at in your medical journey, your recovery journey. It is your choice what you put in your body. It is your choice what you do. And I talk to so many clients day in and day out that don't know why they're on a certain medication or supplement. Oh, my physician told me to take it. Okay. That might be good and great. And that might have been perfect for the particular day that they told you to take it. But now it's a year later or 6 months later, and it may not be appropriate. And then again, it might not have been appropriate to begin with. So the thing, I want you to know why you're taking something. That's huge. That's key. Don't just blindly take somebody's word for it. I mean, I don't think most of the time we don't blindly, sometimes we'll blindly eat food or we'll blindly drink something, but most of the time we do, we'll go ahead and consciously make the decision whether or not we eat more or drink more. But that's our choice as what we decide to put in. Whether or not you believe that or not, it is your choice. And somebody's not forcing those food or the pills or the drinks down your throat. And even with your pills and your supplements, it's your choice what you decide to do to your body. Now, I'm not telling you to cause any harm, so please don't take that. Do not stop anything that you might be taking, because stopping without consenting with a healthcare professional could be detrimental. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying have a choice and question, why are you taking something? Is that the right next thing for you? And I'm so happy, Tricia, that you were able to say, hey, wait a minute. No, there's an alternative. I want to try something different. I want to see if I can do this in a sense on my own, but yet with your guidance. So you had people in your team who were guiding you, but what you didn't want to do was just take another pill, because yes, your liver, your kidneys, all of those have to filter out. Whatever goes in has to be filtered and come out. And we potentially are causing more harm to our bodies based upon that, whether it's or even your pancreas, with what you eat, your insulin level could be spiking or not spiking, or maybe you don't make insulin, and that's another whole nother issue. Mm-hmm. But those are things you have to figure out how it's reacting to your body and what is right for you, because it is your body and each of you are unique, very much so. There's similarities, yes, but you are you, and you wouldn't be you without your chemical makeup.
Well, I like this because, okay, and this is, again, I'm just going to keep just talking about my life, whatever, because this is more recent. And it's actually really so cool for me, especially in my practice, because, I teach people a lot about post-acute withdrawal and what the symptomology is and what, symptomatically you can expect and how long you can expect it to stick around in your life. So that's one piece, but something that I'm realizing. And so I'm going to try to make this a not long story. I'm going to try, but okay. So after I started my journey in sobriety, right? Because my recovery journey is way longer than my journey in sobriety. Once I started in my sobriety journey, in that real early phase, I had a lot of pain and inflammation. In fact, at one point, I could barely get out of a chair. Went to a specialist, got blood labs, because I'm a big, every 6 months, everybody should have their labs drawn. I don't care who you are. Check your labs every 6 months. You won't miss things that way. Anyway, so went and had blood labs and my rheumatoid factors, for those of you who don't know what that is, anyway, looking at autoimmune issues in my body, my rheumatoid factors were 133, off the charts, 133. You have rheumatoid arthritis, boom, diagnosis, positive. And then I went on this journey of what medication is going to put my rheumatoid arthritis into remission, right? And so it was a very constant process of changing, because my body, which I didn't know then, what I know now, my body was in a physical healing process also. And I wish I could remember where I saw this, but anyway, in the recovery process, I, yes, had rheumatoid arthritis, whether that was symptomatic or not. But then there came this time where I kept reoccurringly developing what seemed to be an allergy to my rheumatoid arthritis medication. Now, we all know, like, allergies happen right away if you're going to have it from a medication. And we're talking a year plus into taking a medication, I was suddenly developing what was being termed an allergy. And all of my subsequent rheumatoid tests came back like a normal person, right? So I had the one test at 133 and none of the others came back that way. But I remained for 8 years on medication for rheumatoid arthritis and started developing other issues along the way. Chagrin, gastroparesis, erythromelalgia, right? Yep. And my husband says, it's always something, right? Like, and we have a little, joke that we say about it, because my body is always changing, shifting, and morphing. And so fast forward recently, in a conversation with you and with my medical provider, and neither one of you told me to do this, so I'm going to give you your CYA right now to you and to him, because neither one of you told me to do this, but I stopped taking my medication. And guess what? Didn't change anything. Some newer symptomology has subsided or decreased significantly, and hasn't re-flared, if you will. So, I'm searching for there's a little bug in here. I'm searching for my new baseline, right? What is going to be my new baseline? and what's that going to, what's that going to be for me going forward? But I'm not ever going to know if I'm on medication for something that I may or may not have, because it's not showing up in blood labs anymore. So I'm going to go based on, I don't need to take this how do you say that word? Prolifically?
Yeah.
I don't need to take this prolifically. I know what I mean, but I'm going to take nothing until such time that something else manifests. And then there's, probable cause or reasonable cause to try another form of medication. But for now, and what has worked for me significantly better than any medication throughout this 8-year period has been my dietary practices. And I am following my dietary practices right now, and I'm having no symptomology. And so what does that look like for me? That means, well, one, I did add back in something that was removed because it was, dangerous to take with the very last medication I was given. But I put that back in because I noticed a negative effect when I removed it. And this was one that was given to me when I had a hysterectomy. So it's a bone density medication with a very small low dose serum of estrogen, right? Okay, cool. It works for me. I'm keeping it. I put it back in. Get rid of the rest of it. Keep the stuff that's working, right? Put it back. And so I put it back and I feel that much better, right? It's a bone density med, whatever, but I feel better. It works for me.
And that's key, because listening to your body is so important. Our bodies are smart. We don't always listen. I know in my story, I didn't listen for a long time. But yes, so I am so glad that you did listen, and making sure, adding something back in that's supportive of you. Now, your blood levels, your rheumatoid factors, those could have been affected by certain medications as well, as some other things that can be done as well. So those can change. And usually when your factors are high, just an FYI, and you don't have symptoms, you may or may not actually have rheumatoid arthritis, because
Right.
usually you have symptoms well before your factors
Well,
are.
there were symptoms, but there, but I get it. I hear what you're saying, and it's important, and I think it's important that people know, especially, and I can say this from the chemical addiction world, right? Your recovery process is going to be filled with physical pain. So, and that's, it's just part of it. It's going to physically be uncomfortable. It might be 3 months for you. It might be 6 months for you. For others, it might be a couple years. For me, I had physical pain, whether it was a direct result of, right, or wasn't, because I don't know. They told me that it had nothing to do with it. But, anyway, physical pain and the body's healing process may be different for you than it is for others. I tend to have autoimmune issues. I have a very overactive immune system, right? In other words, it attacks it, my own body. And it's been doing this since I was a teen. And so I'm aware of that. So that's something that I have to watch. So physical pain is quite frequently part of my life. And so how much of it had to do with the, recovery process, I don't know, but 8.5 going on 9 years later, like here I am going, I'm the most pain-free I've been since I was 18 years old. Yay.
Yay.
And I'm virtually taking, very few things, right? Folic acid, the bone density, magnesium, ashwagandha. I think, that's about it.
Yeah.
But, we can, we just have to know that we are a unique amoeba and everybody's different. And so we have to stop being followers, right? We can't just be part of the herd that just goes, well, this says this is for that. And this is what, I don't know, this group of people over here is saying is amazing and wonderful. So I'm just going to go with the flock and find your right, true answer. Allow yourself to be a unique being and do what's right for you. Something that I teach very much in the systems and processes in both the Learn to Live Free and Evolve programs. It's, here's your 7-day healthy living. Let's see what we can find out. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. Right? Because you can't expect all answers to come in one day or 1 week or even 1 month. It's going to be unfolding.
Exactly. That is so key. And I am so glad that you've gotten down to just a handful of things compared to even when you and I first started talking, you were on a lot more things. And so that's and that's the key, is getting to the optimization for you, whatever it is, whatever you are, whatever that fits you, a handful for you. I have a handful that work for me. And then there might be another handful, and there might be some similarities. There might be 1 or 2 supplements or medications that might be similar and that might be supportive depending upon where you're at in the recovery stage. So yes, in the early recovery stages, there may be more that you're needing. As you go further out in your recovery stage, just like you've experienced, you can start letting go of what's not necessary slowly, hopefully slowly, so we can figure out what is the, what's working for you and what makes sense based upon your levels, your labs.
Yes, labs are important. So is the cross-referencing and the, writing it down and looking at it and going, okay, maybe if I remove this, let's see, let's watch for 6 weeks and see what happens. Okay. I liked it better when it was in. So let's take this one and put that, whatever it is, right? Because and I think that's the other piece, because we all know that we're here for a reason. And part of that is the need for instant gratification and something outside of us to make us feel better than or different than we do organically. And so one, we've got to move away from that need for instant gratification. We also need to move away from the need for something outside of our actual self to take care of something for us. And so that's why I love my relationship with food today. That's the longest journey I take, right? So we're talking, a lot of years. So I think that could be a really good recommendation. If it's a relationship with food, body image, body dysmorphia, anything like that, just know that it's just it needs to just be a lifelong loving journey with the self, because it's you got to eat. So, I mean, you got to eat. So it's not just something you can quit and let go and move on and find something better. You got to eat. And so it's, you just have to change that relationship in the way you look at it. So, and this is, I think, a really cool, easy way to show how much, if we're paying attention and if we're truly interested and intrigued about how our body operates based on what we put in it. My husband and I have had many conversations about this with regard to kombucha. Because lo and behold, the one that works best for me is probably one of the most expensive on the market. It's just par for the course of being me. I don't know. But, one of the, so we talk about it, and it's like, I have tried all kinds of kombuchas. I like a lot of them. I like very specific flavor profiles in my kombucha. And so, yes, I can buy differing brands, but what I've discovered is some brands, and believe me, it took me a while to have the aha moment. Some brands, when I drink them, yes, taste wonderful on my palate. 2, yes, are probably, doing all the right gut things that they're supposed to, but 3, we're still producing inflammation. Right. And so I'd try another one, and, same result. Boom, find the one. And I'm like, wow, same flavor profile for all intent and purposes, same ingredients. But what's the difference? 5 grams of sugar versus 13 grams of sugar. And so you go, okay, so I'm drinking kombucha to reduce gut inflammation and promote healthy digestion. So if I'm drinking this one over here that has 13 grams of sugar and it's doing nothing but bloat me initially, and this one over here doesn't, and it's got less, ding, 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 I found the right product for me. You might not have that same negative experience or response, physical response to a kombucha. It may be all the same to you. But for me, this is a great illustration. What my body is hypersensitive to things high in sugar. I love sugar, but I have to be super disciplined or my body gets inflamed and I have pain. I have discomfort. Sure, I have weight gain also, like everybody else. But for me, that's not, that's not really the focus. The focus for me is things that are high in sugar actually cause me pain, discomfort. So no thanks. Same with bread, same with pasta, right? And onions, so for all intent and purposes, nightshades, root vegetables, all the things. I love them all. I like them all. I have to find alternate routes of getting those nutrients because they're key nutrients. We need those nutrients in our life. So I've had to, research and find and dig that, a way to replace those vitamins and minerals, et cetera. But, it's about paying attention. And, people are like, you don't eat vegetables? I'm like, I get vegetables in my diet. I just don't physically eat them in their actual form.
Right.
Right.
And that's key. That's what you found works for you. And yes, I want to do hit on that nutrition is not something you can let go. You do have to change the way you think about it. Because yes, in order to nourish our bodies, we do need to eat. And sugar, yes, can cause inflammation. Sugar can cause other things as well as weight gain and different things. I have had several clients who have had different disease states, anywhere from MS to fibromyalgia to high blood pressure, diabetes, some anxiety, that have been able to, let's say, control their diagnosed condition by the nutrients that they put in their body. And because food is nutrition, and yes, sometimes it's supplemented based upon because they can't eat that particular nightshade. So we find a supplement that's a whole food supplement that does what they need to get their body right, so that their blood levels are right, and they feel better. They're not having that pain. They're not having that inflammation. And that is so key.
And the brain fog.
And I think those are things that we're now hearing those terms. Oh, I have inflammation. Oh, I have brain fog. Well, for years, Advil has been promoting the anti-inflammatory drug. It's an anti-inflammatory. That's exactly what it does. The way that it acts on your receptors is it relieves the inflammation caused by some kind of pain. So when we see those commercials, when we had a headache, your brain is hurting, it's inflamed. That's usually what causes a headache. Now, there's different areas of your brain that can cause that. Now, Advil may be a choice in some instances. I'm not saying go and buy that, because there's other things that you can do. That was just an example of how it came out. There's different things you can do with heat and ice and going into a dark room and closing your eyes and sitting there for a minute for headache, just for example. There's many different things. And sometimes it's as simple as drinking a glass of water that can actually relieve that inflammation, lessen the pressure, lessen the pain, and then your headache can subside. So that's just a little tip there. But there's different things. Inflammation is pain. And whether that,
if we're tracking, right? Like, so if we're doing like this tracking process, like say we go, about once a month, I get like this crazy migraine. So if we go, okay, once a month, like you've picked out your cycle. So let's track after this migraine. Let's do some tracking, some logging, if you will, which most people are like, I don't like journaling, or I don't, dude, if you want your migraines to stop, like let's track from the end of this one till the onset of the next one, so that we can take a look at that. And then maybe we need to do it one more time so we can look for the common thread, right? But you have to be willing to put time into the research that is needed about you.
yes,
Because otherwise we can just go, okay, well, I found the pill that's going to work every time I get this headache. And we're doing nothing at all to keep it from happening in the future, unless we just go, I'm going to take this every day because I don't want to. I was guilty of that. I used to get up every morning and pop 800 milligrams of Motrin just so that I wouldn't have pain that day. I wouldn't even wait for the pain to happen. I would just take it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes twice a day. Right? And then I started looking at what was the source? What was the antagonist? What's the antagonist in my life? Sugar, bread, root vegetables, la, la, la. When you start identifying them, and then when you sit down and you want to go, you know what? I really just want some fettuccine Alfredo. You go, okay, it's going to set me up, right, to have inflammation, even if you have a small enough amount. Like I had some last night. I don't have any inflammation today that is noticeable. However, and I've learned this from some of my other foodies, right, is that when you eat that, you're actually signing up for, I think, was it 4 months or 6 months of inflammation that you won't even notice just from that one sittings. For me, it's the noticeable inflammation that I care about, because that would be like never having pasta again. And you can't tell me no pasta ever again. Right. But I make that conscious decision, like, okay. And then I try to, keep it to a very, to a small amount to hopefully avoid noticeable inflammation. Right. But it's all about being an active participant. I guess that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And that is so key. That is, be an active participant in your life and in your choices. That is key. Whatever it is. And yes, if you decide that you want that little bit of fettuccine and you're gearing yourself up, you made the decision, you made the choice that I want to taste that, and I'm willing to pay the price if the inflammation comes later today or tomorrow. You may get lucky, you may not. You may be hurting. You may go, oh, okay, I don't want to have fettuccine again for a long, long time. You got lucky. Let's say it like that. You got lucky in that you had some last night and you're not experiencing anything immediate. And yes, there are some long-term inflammation effects. But the thing that we do focus on is that the immediate gratification, the immediate negativity, whatever it is. If we don't see the good or the bad, we're like, okay, well, we can do it again. And that's in certain things, yes, in certain things, no. And that's part of your recovery journey, in you making those decisions and figuring out where you are on your recovery journey. Are you done with alcohol? Are you done with controlled substances? Are you done with? And yes, there's different phases throughout the process. We all make choices. There may be a time where you made the decision, whether it's food. Are you done with that particular thing? And we're going to support you wherever you're at. If you slip up, you're human. It happens. You get right back on. Right back on.
It's what you do going forward that matters.
Exactly.
There's no going back in time. I beat yourself up. Before we run out of time, I do want to talk a little bit more about the menopause thing, because I think it's really important. I mean, just being in the age group of people and working with with most of my clients being, anyway, doesn't matter. But I think it's important because, we throw out the word menopause like it's a one size fits all also. And I have to tell you guys, it's not. When I presented to my doctor with my, because they're like, go home, write down your symptoms, because they're like baffled, right? They're like, go home, write down your symptoms. Came back in a month and I had written down all of my symptoms throughout a month. Again, be an active participant, log, don't just go, oh, I don't feel good. Know what's happening. But I wrote down all of my symptoms and I presented. Here you go. And mind you, back then, because I'm dating myself, but way back then in my 20s, my OB, he was an older gentleman. He actually delivered me, and no, I'm sorry, not him. That wasn't him. That was the OB before. But anyway, he had been around for a minute, right? He'd been around for a minute. And he was like, I have never, in all of my years of practice, seen one patient with every single symptom of menopause happening in their life actively at one time, right? So that's my story. That's my journey. That's a piece of it, right? But so for some people, it's just the hot flashes that are derailing. But those hot flashes, if that's the only thing that is, doesn't mean that there's not some very significant underlying issues that may be able to truly find relief through diet, exercise, proper sleep, and supplementation. Supplementation. It doesn't mean we have to just go immediately to give me the estrogen, give me the whatever, right? Like, no, we don't need to go there right away, right? There's so many other things that we can try. So it's about knowing what are all of your true symptoms, right? Emotionally, physically, because that's different.
It is different. And I'm glad that the way you said that, I'm not happy you had all the symptoms. That's sad. But the thing is, what your physician said, so he's not seeing anybody that had all those symptoms. The key is that most physicians don't actually know all the symptoms. They don't remember all the symptoms because the majority of women come in with two different things, two problems. They have hot flashes and then they have vaginal dryness. Those are the two most common symptoms. There's a whole host of other symptoms.
Also only going to give you advice on what you present. So if those are the only two things you walk in the door with, not the headaches, the mood swings, that, right?
Exactly. That's exactly key. And so, yes, you've got to be an active participant and write down everything that's going on. It could be part of menopause. It could be something else. So write it down, ask about it, say, is this part of, and then they can give you a solution, hopefully not just another pill, but a solution, because that's the key. Is so many, I mean, we're hyped even by media of, oh, okay, menopause, hot flashes, that's all you know. That's the biggest
Why don't they talk about the nausea and some of this other stuff that actually can go along with it?
There is a lot of other things. Nausea can happen. Bad headaches can happen. I mean, you can all of a sudden start developing migraines. You never had migraines in your life, and all of a sudden you had migraines or cluster headaches. And those are things that they're not great. You may have night sweats. Those are the worst. Those are yucky. That just, so there's various different things. And so when you experience something, write it down. Especially, you're probably, if you're listening, you're probably in the age group. You may or may not be, but probably.
Well, if you haven't tuned out yet, because as soon as we went to menopause, and if you're too young for it or not experienced it, you probably bailed on the whole live anyway.
Exactly.
If you're still here.
Right. So those are key things, listening to your body. And even if you're not in that age, listening to your body of symptoms that are going on, so we can get to the root cause of the problem and not just mask the symptom.
Right. Yes. Oh my gosh, this has been so great. Okay, so guys, because we just can't go over today, because we have schedules and we have calendars we must stick to. But I want you guys to know, and Melissa will drop her link in here for a course. If you go in, you can listen to some very, very, again, very specific videos and get some very poignant information, but you also can download the worksheets that she has there. Whether you turn them into her or not, it'll help you decipher what it is you're actually taking, for how long, and you're going to see or not see, if it's not overwhelming to you or, taking you back when you write it all down. Right. And then, maybe you don't need a consultation or, an evaluation, I should say, is probably more to the point, right? Because what we're really looking at here is, wow, these are all the things that are, I really feel stuck and bogged down by. I filled out these sheets and now I'm like, oh crud, I need an evaluation, right? Like a true, unbiased, well-educated, well-trained, so many countless chronicled hours of scientific study and training that Melissa has. What is it? 52,000?
Over 52,000 clinical hours.
Yeah, 52,000 clinical hours at your beck and call here. So, like if you want like that real attention, attentiveness, true evaluation of what it is you've got going on with some very solid concrete recommendations, I know, trust, like Dr. Melissa with with my own life. And she's here. She will do that for you. Start easy. Again, it's completely free to sign up and get in there and get to know Dr. Melissa. The only time that you're going to incur cost is if you book an appointment because you're ready, right? She's giving you all the tools to discern whether or not it's a necessity. So it's not even about taking your money for an unnecessary reason, right? We want to get you heading in the right direction. So down in the comments, Dr. Melissa will put everything you need to know to get a hold of her through on the platform, so that you can have all of her contact information and hear everything about her. Mine will be there too. Y'all know how to find me anyway. But mine will be down there too, in case you're new. And yeah, we just really look forward to, seeing you in our rooms off of the big screen here and in our rooms for the guidance and support. I did just release a brand new complimentary or free, whatever you want to call it, whatever rings your bell, new training on life balance. Very, very awesome, very wonderful. You can ask Dr. Melissa about it. You can hit me up about it. If you're looking for just a little bit of a life tweak, it's there, it's available. It's not accessible without a request though. So if you want to have a little freebie training, it's just 5 short videos with some very specific worksheets, let us know. We'll get it for you. Anyway, Dr. Melissa, thank you again. As always.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Always. It's so neat to just go, hey, my team is here. Part of my team is here. It's awesome. I appreciate you. Until next time.
Yes, ma'am.